Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Nadiah and I'll be your moderator today. It's a real pleasure to be with all of you. And today, as you know, we've got an amazing array of panel, and the discussion is going to be about be kind to your mind. So we all know, we were thinking hard yesterday and the day before about what would be the sort of key messages we want to send to people, knowing that the MCO, of course, has been extended further for another 2 weeks at least, with a bit of a caveat from the Prime Minister that it may be on even longer. But we shall see how that pans out in a bit. I hope everyone is having an amazing time. Hashtag Co-labs, hashtag all of the different organizations that you think would benefit from this quick discussion. It's going to be a quick discussion. So if you do have questions, please put them on, and the lovely Hanis and Amelia and the team at Co-labs will be able to assist us in fielding the questions to me. So now very quickly, we were thinking about what would it mean in a situation that we're in, where businesses have either had to be on a halt or on a big pause, but yet there's a lot more things that we need to contend with as individuals, as entrepreneurs, as individuals really. So the first panelist, or the first speaker that I would be very privileged to introduce you to, is Kenny Lim, who is with the Befrienders. Now you all know that the Befrienders is a 24/7 hotline, not only to have confidential one-on-one discussions on mental health issues, but also it is a suicide hotline that has been in existence for a number of years now, doing amazing work across Malaysia. So the angle that Kenny will be talking about is what are some of the efforts that are out there, how does he see this extended MCO period changing the trend that we're seeing in the number of calls and the kind of calls that we're getting, and perhaps hopefully if you've got questions on how you might be able to benefit from the line, perhaps for someone else or someone dear to you, then do let us know. So I'm going to call in Kenny and hopefully the line stays. Let me type that down. Okay, so Befrienders KL is not on at the moment. Okay, we'll wait for them. I think he's probably got some technical issues in trying to get on. Alright, in the meantime, while we wait for Befrienders to come online so that we can quickly join them, how is everyone feeling? So I see Fika, I see Penny. How is everyone doing? Hello, hello, hello. Alright, okay, so I believe Kenny is here. Let's have him on. Okay, great.
Hi Nadia.
Hi, selamat
How are
pagi.
you? Selamat
I'm good, I'm
pagi.
good. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm feeling great today.
It's amazing
Yeah.
you even had a test run. So we were talking to the viewers today. We've got 38 at the moment, and we were talking about what it's like trying to maneuver the current MCO period with all of the different things that are happening. And of course, this extended MCO period is needed because we need to flatten the curve. But at the same time, there's so many things that are happening. I mean, people are thinking about, how do I keep my business afloat? My children, how do I contend with continuously teaching them at home? If I have loved ones who are far away, how do I ensure that they're okay? So there's so many different things that are going on. It's a great privilege to have you today. So perhaps, Kenny, you can tell us first a little bit about what Befrienders is, and secondly about what you see in the work that you do right now. Are there a change in trends, or there an increase in calls? I'm guessing there would be, in the number of distress calls. What type of distress calls are you getting now?
Right. Okay. Thanks for having us here today. Yeah. My first time doing live, so I'll try my best. Yeah. Okay. So basically, Befrienders KL, we are a not-for-profit organization, and we provide emotional support to people who are in distress, people who are feeling suicidal or depressed, and basically to anyone who needs someone to talk to. They can get in touch with us and then talk to our trained volunteers. For emotional support. Everything discussed is confidential. And during this period of MCO, we do see an increase of calls, yeah. The first 7 days of MCO, we actually saw an increase of 13% of calls that we received, yeah. That's a lot. And out of these calls that we received, right, 9% of them actually were related to either COVID-19 or MCO. So people are actually being affected by what is happening nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to share, I think your concerns are also part of a coalition of civil society organizations and NGOs that are doing great work that are out there. I know that the women's group have also come up with some strong recommendations to the government about what needs to happen. But that aside, we are seeing an increase in distress calls all across, you know, not only for suicide hotlines, we're seeing an increase in calls for women, women abuse issues or sexual violence or just stress. And because I'm in the child space, I know that there's also an increase, quite a drastic increase in percentage on calls related to violations against children. Now, what do you think are some of the issues that are pushing these calls from coming out, other than perhaps cabin fever and being stressed?
Okay.
What do you think that the common trigger is?
Right, right. There are a few other reasons why people reach out to us. Yeah, as we can see from our statistics, there are people who is, of course, as you mentioned, feeling the stress, being confined indoor, not being able to go out as they like. Yeah, so that actually has increased stress in a lot of people. And if you're staying with others, like for example, family members or housemates, right, there can actually be conflict. Yeah, because if everyone is feeling so stressful, it's so easy to get into a conflict. Yeah, so we are getting calls from people who are in conflict, and then also this group of people where they have pre-existing mental health issues. So what we are seeing is also people that are not being able to see their therapist. They have to cancel or postpone their appointment until the MCO is lifted. So that is very challenging for this group of people. Yeah, we also get calls from people who are worried about the uncertainties. Right? When will this end? When is this MCO going to be lifted? You know, and what happens after that? Will I be able to manage the post-MCO? Yeah. So how will I survive? For example, those people who are struggling financially. So all these things that's related to MCO, the uncertainty. A lot of them are feeling anxiety. There's a lot of fear as well. Yeah.
So, Kenny, from your experience, having been part of the line for many years now, do you find that a lot of these issues that people are facing are usually things that can be managed if help is seen earlier? The reason being is because suicide and that thought of I need help in a country like Malaysia, although mental health is something that we do talk about more, I still find a lot of people taking mental health issues as a taboo. The first, of course, is the issue of the self, not willing to accept that I need help, and there's no shame in saying that I need help. So by the time they call a suicide prevention hotline, it's that tipping of the iceberg. I can't take this anymore. There's no way I'm going to be able to. I'm just going to end it, you know? So does Befrienders also assist in trying to network or connect people to preventative efforts so that they don't get to that stage where I'm not going to take this anymore?
Right, right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stigma when it comes to suicide or mental disorder, mental illness, right? but I do see an improvement in the last few years. There's a lot more discussion about this. People are getting more open to talk about it. But again, when it comes to seeking help, there's still this self-stigma, as you mentioned, right? I don't think I need help yet, or if I
can
seek
still take
help,
it.
yeah. And also, there's this fear that how would people react if they know that I am struggling. Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult to deal with all this stigma, but we are trying our best. We are doing a lot of workshops, talks about suicide prevention, about mental disorder, so that in order to create more awareness, to tell people that suicide is preventable, yeah, and everyone struggles at some points in their life, yeah, and it's important to basically reach out. It's okay to be not okay, yeah. No one can feel happy all the time, yeah. So it's important to basically know that it's okay when I feel a little bit stressed or down, but I need to do something about it, yeah. You take care of yourself, you do something to make it better, or you look for someone to talk about it, open up to someone, reach out to someone. That is very important.
Yeah. Before we kind of continue with the next question, I just wanted to highlight to everyone that is listening in today, one of the key messages that Co-labs and the collaborators and the impact partner wants to deliver during this Be Kind to Your Mind session is this. Number one, there is nothing wrong with feeling down and feeling that perhaps this current session is creating that burden that is now overwhelming. There is no shame in seeking for assistance. There is no shame in seeking for help, even if it pains us to admit that being as stoic and as strong as a person that we are, we still sometimes need a little help. I mean, I've needed help many times, and I'm sure you've done too, Kenny. I mean, we all live in a society. So we're all in this together. So from the lovely people from Co-labs, the big, huge message is you're not alone. And from the impact partners, we want you to be able to know that if you do feel a little down, you want to talk to someone, there's always help. That's exactly why we're having this session on Be Kind to Your Mind. Okay, so Kenny, I wanted to further ask you, when we're talking about prevention, when we're talking about stigma, and I know it's also very culturally tied into a community that we have, talking about men don't cry, women are very much the victim, you got to suck it up, be a man. Is there, I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here and ask you, is there do you see a difference in the number of calls coming from men and coming from women, and how can we help kind of balance that divide? Because I think everyone needs assistance. It doesn't mean men need help or women need help, right?
Right. That's a very interesting question, Nadiah. And we do actually see a difference in terms of the calls that we receive from males and also females. Yeah, our statistics for the past many years have shown that we receive more calls from females. Yeah, so we're getting about, I think, 2/3 of our calls are from females, and it has always been like that the past many years. Yeah, I think a lot of things need to be done to tell the guys that, hey, like you said, yeah, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel sad, yeah, and it's okay to reach out for help. Yeah, a message to the guys out there, yeah, if you feel uncomfortable or you feel like, hey, maybe I feel shameful if I need to call the Befrienders, yeah, for a start, please know that when you call the Befrienders, you can remain anonymous. You don't have to tell us your real name if you don't want to. So start with that. Start with calling and see how you feel about it. Yeah, you'll be surprised because, for all these years, you've been keeping everything inside you. And finally, if you're able to talk about it with someone, you do actually see the difference. You can feel it. Yeah. So for those of you who are not sure, how it's going to be if I call the Befrienders, having this fear of calling and talking to someone that you don't know, try calling and then see how you feel, yeah? Because the service itself is, our volunteers will not judge you. What we do is basically, we will accept whatever you're going through, yeah? No issues is too small for us because everyone has a different mechanism in coping. Yeah. So everyone copes differently. So for us, as long as you have an issue and you need someone to talk to, yes, we will listen to you.
Yeah. There's a great comment from Adam Perry 29, and thank you so much for sharing that. And you were talking about the fact that in Malaysia, the way we are brought up very much changes the way we behave. So I love the fact that while we believe in women's rights or gender equality, now it's all for gender equity. You know that this year's theme was each for equal. For Women's Day, it's like that, right? So it's not just about women, it's also about men. That's why the first session is a man and a lady together. And so thank you so much, Adam, for your highlight. Exactly right. You know, the cultural connotations of what can be shared and what cannot be shared in a country like Malaysia has pretty much dominated the way we behave. But perhaps now this MCO is a good time to consider, because even if you do call that helpline, no one's going to know. You can hide in your shower if you want to. But the idea behind that is to understand that help is available, that they are trained professionals. They don't care if you're a guy or a girl. And really the idea behind this is, if there are ways in which these helplines are able to assist you to feel just a little bit better about the current condition, then that's already a win. And we will ride this storm together. So for more information, what number do they call, Kenny?
Okay, during this MCO period, we are using a new number, yeah, because of limitation, because we couldn't travel to our center. So let me look for the
Everyone
number,
take
because
this down.
it's a new number, yeah. It's 0376272929. You can also actually go to our social media, yeah, our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook, and all the information is there. And if you have any questions, you can send us messages there as well, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kenny. That's all the time that
Thank you,
unfortunately we have
Nadiah.
together. But I'm going to repeat that number. So those of you watching this, the number is 0376272929. Correct, Kenny?
Yes, correct.
Great,
Yep.
I got that. And they also have Skype option. So please call. Thank you so much, Kenny, and we hope to speak to you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you, Nadiah. Take care, everyone.
Okay, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Don't leave. We have
Bye.
another speaker coming up. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was Kenny from the Befrienders, guys. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Now you will see that the comment buttons, now 46 people joining. Please make sure you share your questions, whatever questions that we cannot answer right now in this short session. We will try very hard to answer after. So if we have your deets, then we will be able to connect with you after that. So now you've got the idea. It's 0376272929. Okay, it's a bit like a ring, you know. 762722929. Okay, anyway, thank you. Thank you, Amelia, for that reposting of the number. Now let's dial into our next friend, who is none other than Datuk Munirah. Okay, now most of you would already know. Let me just type your name in. All right. Okay, those of you who are familiar with Pertiwi Soup Kitchen will know that Datuk Munirah is champion advocate. Hello, in the area of urban poor, defending for the homeless, and she's been running the Pertiwi Soup Kitchen. In fact, she's a co-founder of the Pertiwi Soup Kitchen, and she's a bit of a superhero. So she's a corporate figure by day and a community advocate by night. So thank you so much for being with us today. Apa khabar?
Apa khabar baik. Thank you for having me. So
Alhamdulillah, wonderful. Okay, so Dato, one of the things we were thinking about earlier when we talked about all of the great NGOs that are doing good work right now. For example, you know, the Befrienders are there to assist you if you do have concerns, if you do have psychosocial worries. But at the same time, some of us are thinking, hang on, the frontliners are doing a lot of things. We want to be doing something to help too. And the Pertiwi is a great example of an organization that has not stopped assistance despite the fact of the movement control order. And perhaps you could share with us a little about what's being done by Pertiwi during this MCO.
Okay, thank you. Because we didn't stop, you know, and we were seen as being right eager to participate. That was in a way a blessing. So that the minute the governments wanted to bring the NGOs together, we were there. All the NGOs which are willing to cooperate were there. And it was a matter of trying to find a different platform to address this crisis. How do we do it? How do we get together? What do we do? Is this the correct approach? So, you know, Malaysia is being vocal. Some of the efforts were just, no, you cannot do this. No, you cannot do that. But we came together very quickly. Amazing, you know, and we got the system running, up and running very fast. That is the eagerness, the willingness of our society to actually come together in terms of need. I think we have to salute everyone, every party, NGOs, government agencies, and everyone. Amazing.
The other thing that I wanted to ask you was, when people feel that they're locked in, I mean, for us, at least we're trapped within walls. There's still shelter, but there's so many people who are out there, and it's really humbling to know this. There's so many people who are out there who are actually out in the elements with very little to rely on. And yesterday I had a good conversation with a friend of mine, Raja Azura, who's actually on this IG. So she's also another keen community advocate. What are some of the challenges that our current gelandangan, our friends from, you know, the urban poor and the homeless community are facing right now?
We were lucky actually that YBhg decided, no, we're going to just rescue them. So that was what was done.
Yeah.
You know, that you can look at it from both sides, yeah? On the one hand, we understand that being rescued, being given shelter is helpful. But on the other hand, the gelandangan themselves, the rakyat jalanan, see it as a form of incarceration. So some of them were resisting.
Yeah, I can imagine, right?
Yeah. So, you know, some are still trying to hide. I don't want to go in. But the treatment being given there is really good, because they're given shelters currently in at 6 pusat community. They will be increasing more actually. So 80% of the rakyat jalanan are already in there. So what we do is then the NGOs, the soup kitchens, take care according to a schedule to provide meals and everything else. So I think they're being well looked after. You have seen the news reports and all that they're given sort of like little camps inside little tents. So
yes.
That is to maintain the social distancing, you know. So, but in terms of food, they're really being well looked after. They're getting 6 meals a day.
Wow.
However, you know, some of them already have mental health problems, you know, like anxiety disorders and all that. I'm just hoping that we are sharp enough to notice that in them. Because now they're being looked after by YBhg staff and by radar personnel. Hopefully, someone will be sharp enough to notice the minute, you know, because this is extended, chances are it'll be extended further. They'll be in there for a long time. So meals is one thing. Meals is something that most of them would feel nervous about if they didn't know where their next meal was coming from. Now that they've got meals, they're in there. But, you know, it's all enclosed and confined. We have to be on the lookout. I will alert them and say, be on the lookout for this.
So the next mental health challenge that they'll be having now is the uncertainty of, you know, if their lifestyle was before this more carefree and out to be able to walk wherever they want, now they're basically trapped in a space with everyone which they may or may whom they may or may not know. I think that's what you brought up, a very important point, because very often when we try and help people, we assume that they would need what we need. And sometimes we second guess without actually asking people. So I think one of the key messages that we want to bring out here is, it's great that we should continue kita jaga kita, we should be assisting the frontliners or donating for meals or whatever it is that we are capable of doing, and I think that's a very important thing that should continue. However, in trying to to extend that assistance, we have to have that little bit of mindfulness in asking ourselves, who is this for? Is it me that's feeling good about this, or am I really trying to help my community? And if so, is my assistance matching their needs and their wants? So for example, if you're giving sushi to someone who doesn't even eat raw fish, for example, or if you're looking at providing meals, but they might, or you want to be providing, say, jobs, like what you said, Munirah, the first thing is, if you can feed the stomach and they can feel less hungry, then perhaps they'll be able to talk to you about whether they want jobs, right? So there's a hierarchy of needs that we need to be looking at. Yeah, so if they want to help... Sorry, proceed.
We have to prepare ourselves for the approaching Ramadan as well.
Yes,
you know,
of course.
that's going to be a big thing. We've got so many different people in there, and that I think is going to be a bit daunting. So we have to prepare ourselves for that.
Yeah. Datuk, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have with you. But if someone wants to volunteer with Pertiwi and get more information, how can they get in touch with you?
They can get in touch. Well, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that. Pertiwi Soup Kitchen, Pertiwi. And please do come forward. Let's see how we can work together. But this is working remotely. It's no longer being out there. Yeah.
Yes. So there are many ways to help. It doesn't mean that you have to be physically on the streets, but together with people like the Befrienders and Pertiwi, there's many ways that we can reach out, and feeding other people also helps to feed the soul, doesn't it, Datuk?
Yes.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us. The next caller that we're going to be having today is, God bless, have a good day ahead.
Bye-bye.
The next caller that we're going to have, which is from Thinkint. There we go. Okay, let's see. Yes, she is. Datuk was amazing. Hi.
Hi Nadiah. Apa kabar?
Kabar baik.
Yeah, you're doing so good.
Yeah, we've had a really punchy session with both Kenny and Datuk. I know we're running out of time, but please don't leave, because this last session is a really important one, right, Tuan?
Yes. Really talking about something that all of us experience. Just to self-disclose, I'm really nervous for this session, and I think that kind of ties in with what we have been feeling throughout this COVID-19, the anxiety, and just like a brief little, maybe what we call psychoeducation, is that the anxiety and fear are completely different things. Not completely, but they're related.
Yeah.
So fear is usually with a threat, and that's where we have that fight or flight thing. And anxiety is actually where we have a perceived threat. So at the moment, I think we are experiencing a lot of that because we can't see this threat, which is this virus. And, we're stuck at home. And honestly, to me, I mean, I'm not frontliner. I don't go to the hospital. So when I go out, I'm like, is this like, where is the threat? Like, I can't see it.
We went to sleep and we woke up in our own little zombie apocalyptic movie, didn't we?
Yes, exactly how I think about it. I'm like, wow, we're in an apocalypse, and like we can't see it. It's really jarring to the mind. Yeah. And speaking, so it's been 3.5 weeks. So we're just gonna run this session. I'm gonna run it with you, this little exercise.
Then I'm gonna be in the zone and listen to you.
Sure. And everyone else, if as I narrate or talk through, you can do it for yourself. It's a visualization kind of thing. So it's been 3.5 weeks since we've been in lockdown. We're probably gonna have another 2 weeks more of this. But for you, Nadiah, like the past 3.5 weeks, has there been any period where it was particularly stressful for you?
Plenty. For me, I think every day fluctuates between the manic frenzy of trying to work around beneficiary needs and to juggle my own needs. So hang on, for those of you who are watching, I'm just going to do a quick caveat. The last piece with Sue Ann, I want to focus on this really. while we talk about what are some of the services that are out there that you might be able to plug into, for example, a helpline, if you want to assist someone that's out there in the community, for us to be able to have a little bit of that mindfulness of what other people may need. But we can't settle all of that if we can't settle the self first. So with Suen, this session is going to be going into some of our key fears and anxieties. How do we assist ourselves? And if it's something that we can regulate without calling a helpline, then that's great. But if we feel that despite us giving our best effort in trying to quieten the noise and the screams in our mind, we're unable to do so, then there's no harm in reaching out. So the last piece that we wanted to get together with you on would be, how do we make space for our feelings and our emotions? Right, Suen? Okay.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So back
and
to what
you enable you to do all this.
Correct.
And enable you to do all that. Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying like you have many stressful periods, and viewers, feel free to join along. Just zoom in on one event for now.
Okay, I'll do yesterday, because that would be the most relevant to me. My work revolves working with beneficiaries, and I'm also a child protector. So this COVID-19 period, the caseloads, of course, have increased, because when people are trapped indoors, you know, sometimes people are finally learning to behave like couples with each other or families, because all their lives they've been able to go out in the morning and come back at night. And now they're suddenly in each other's face all the time. They're trying to figure out, oh, hang on, I got to now learn how to behave together with you, more hours than I thought needed. But yesterday was actually, we had 2 victims of sexual abuse. And these 2 young girls were actually stuck living in a car for the last few days because they were trying to escape. So yes, that was stressful.
Okay, wow, stressful. And what was going on for you? Like when you received the news, what was going on for you?
We've got very clear SOPs. So the first thing we wanted to do, of course, was to ensure that the victims were safe.
What was going on for you?
For me, immediately, I think I was trying to figure out how would I have felt if I would have had to live in a car for 6 days. And I think trying to connect empathetically, so that I would be able to at least connect with them very quickly, so that they would be able to receive help. So the stress was really a race against time. Yeah.
Okay. So did you feel some anxiety then, or although when you were sharing, it felt like sadness actually?
Sadness, definitely. Not so much anxiety, but sadness. The feeling that, you know, if it's not an MCO, for people like us to be able to reach our victims, it's a little bit more straightforward. I can just get on my car and drive to wherever. Yes. Exactly. But now that feeling of, can you please help me? Someone get me out of this place, and you're stuck because, you know, to be able to get there, you're going to get stuck by the police. You need that letter. So it's that if there is that feeling of helplessness, that feeling of, I know I need to get to you, but now how do I get to you in a different way?
Yeah. So that feeling of helplessness is about, I want to help, but I can't help, or there's just a lot of obstacles along the way to help.
Finding different ways to help.
Yeah. And so just sit with that feeling for a while, that helplessness you talked about, and then we're gonna just imagine it as a ball. So you see a ball, and then it says helplessness.
Okay.
And the ball is inside this room that fills up, like the whole ball fills up this room. And inside the room, there's actually a button, right? And I'm guessing, or you can guess, so this ball will kind of jiggle around and stuff like that. So how frequently do you think the ball would hit that button?
For yesterday, it was once.
Once. Okay. So what was that like when you hit the button once for you?
It's the easiest way to explain it for me was, it felt like, you know, when you've got those butterflies in your stomach, when you feel that nervousness, when it suddenly hits you that, okay, you need to react, but your mind is now racing on, okay, there are 5 different roadblocks. How do I get past these roadblocks to be able to get to them in time before the person that they're running from catches them? So you go on adrenaline. And for me, that feeling of adrenaline tends to be like that butterfly in your stomach before you go on stage to speak. It will be like,
And as you're sitting there with the butterfly in your stomach, it's like the helplessness with the butterfly in your stomach. I imagined you just sitting there, right? There won't be movement. Probably just in your mind, there's a lot of thoughts going through, and completely valid, completely normal, because it is an urgent situation. It is almost an immediate threat. So, but imagine that that your helplessness and the button, we hold that button. You said once, but if we held that button for the whole day, how would that feel for you?
If I was on that button the whole day, I think I would not be able to think objectively through on what needs to happen. I would not be able to function. And I can imagine that the longer you're on that button, the more debilitating it feels. It's like, okay, now it's getting worse. And then it kind of builds up, right?
Yeah, and I think that's really great. You have so much self-awareness. So now, because the ball is stuck in that little room, and what we want to immediately do is do something about it, right? This emotion of helplessness. I need to do something. The adrenaline, the butterfly. I need to do something. But you might just, just crash and do something completely, like you say, not objective, not helpful at all.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna imagine the same room, the same ball. The ball's the same size, with the button in the room. Now imagine that the room has more space. So something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you feeling now? I see a change in your...
Yeah, of course. If I think if we visualize it differently, if we compartmentalize it, that feeling of, I suppose, suffocation, because your first drawing looked like, there's hardly any room to move and you're kind of trapped. Whereas the second drawing is more with perspective, understanding that, yes, you might hit the button, but you've got more room to maneuver. You've got more room to swing.
Yeah. And I think even when I talked about that, I could see in your eyes, like there was more space in your mind as well. And there was light. So I think important, and the ball didn't go anywhere. The ball's still there. We still feel helpless. Yeah. And the button is still there. We might hit it every now and then. There might be an immediate threat where we have to hit it. And but I saw that light in you, and that I think that's what I saw, that Nadiah, who is the one who goes out there and helps these two girls in a way that's workable. Like you said, sometimes we help just to get rid of that feeling of helplessness. But for you, when you had that space, then you helped with engagement and with objectivity. So that's pretty much what the exercise is, making space for ourselves. Yeah.
Thanks, Wen. What I've learned out of that is, even if you practice, either meditation or prayer or whatever it is that your go-to, and that's valid and that's good, it's always nice to have an external reassurance coming from someone else. Because sometimes when we meditate, it's a thing that you do on the quiet by yourself. You're internalizing, so it's between you and your mind. But when you do it with someone else, especially when you know that help is there and it's without judgment, and they're just trying to allow you to reframe that thought and that emotion that you have, what you find is that even if you don't necessarily learn something new, you reaffirm the kind of belief sets that you have, and that's great. So I just wanted to add one small tip for those of you who may have loved ones in your life. For example, some of you might have small children, some of you might have spouses or aged individuals living with you that might go through this anxiety within. I think the process that Suen gave is brilliant for even children, because you didn't
Yes.
use any words, it was just drawing. And I think that helps even young minds to be able to understand. So one of the things that we do for OpiS, at least with children, is helping them to identify or put a label on some of the feelings and the words.
Yes.
So if you can
Yeah, that's
identify
one
that
way.
feeling, so if you can identify that feeling, then at least you're able to think about how you might want to behave with that. So imagine if your child that you're trapped with has been throwing a tantrum for the last 1 week because you're telling him, I'm sorry, you can't go to school, and you can't meet your friends, right? Just like that simple example of, hey guys, okay, now this is where you feel angry, and what if I tell you that ball is a little smaller? And I think even young minds would be able to understand. Hang on, yeah, okay, mom, I can deal with this.
Actually, yeah, the space being bigger, so making space. Yeah.
Correct.
Because
So
the ball will always be there.
widening the space that you have, because that emotion stays the same. Great. Thank you so much, Gwen. That was wonderful. So I hope you all got something out of that. I know I certainly did. Thank you so much. And I suppose before we wrap up our session today, I just wanted to share some messages from the lovely people at Co-labs, because they love you so much and they want you to know that they care for you. So for all of us here, if you want to reach out to Sue-Ann and her team, how do we get in touch with you, Sue-Ann?
We are also on social media, Instagram at thinkint.connect, as well as on Facebook. I'm sort of a freelancer, so but if you connect through Thinkint, you will get to me.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you so much. So we've got three speakers today. Thank you so much. So 3 speakers that helped us today. First, of course, was the lovely Kenny Lim, who was talking about there's no shame in saying there's no such thing as men don't cry, and you can receive assistance. And Befrienders is there, and 272 929. Second was the amazing Datuk Munirah, who spoke about if you are interested in reaching out to the marginalized communities, our Rakan Jalanan, and all of the other things that can be done, how do we do that? Number 3, we had the amazing Sue-Ann, who shared with us a quick tip on how we can make space and emotions make space for our emotions and our anxiety, and what are some of the things that we can do to help reframe our mind. So even if you consider yourself the most mindful and the most together of a person, there's no harm in getting a bit of help in this particular season. We wish you the very best, and we hope that you stay safe. I'm from OpiS, and we focus on better work-life balance. So if you feel stressed out, you've got children that you don't know how you're going to keep occupied, you're worried about finances, violence at home, etc., do reach out to us. We are also on Instagram and Facebook. We are at the official OpiS, with OPIS being how we spell it. Anyway, so that's all the time that we have today from the lovely people at Co-labs. We want to wish you the very best we can. We hope that you have a wonderful time with family and your loved ones.